The Punch Feed. This is the first little video on the channel. It's somewhat of a passion project I've had for a while, ever since I've been in year 7. Year 7, where I grew up with this guy, Ethan. Ethan, would you like to introduce yourself?
What's happening? I'm Ethan. I'm 18 from Manchester. Amateur boxer, content creator.
And today we'll be interviewing Ethan about the amateur boxing scene, which is an area that isn't too much focused on when it comes to the grand scheme of things. Obviously, you hear the word boxing, the sport boxing, everyone focuses on Usyk and Inoue and Crawford. But I've got a deep interest in what goes on before that. Obviously, the success of fights like Lomachenko, who have came through them ranks, have made a real name for themselves. Ethan, my first question for you is, as you predicted, how did you get into boxing?
So boxing was always something that my dad enjoyed, because he was never into football or anything. So, growing up, my dad was always doing it. He did like white collar fights and stuff. He never got into amateurs, but he did a couple of white collar fights, and then I had a fight in school, got beat up, and I just wanted to make sure that didn't happen again because it was pretty embarrassing. Video got about me getting beat up, and I just didn't want it to happen again.
So you said about your dad then, he's the one who was the real big vision into you starting boxing. One thing I want to talk about is you've started training, you have been training for a long while now, with ABC Wharton, run by Jamie Moore, Jim of the White Rhino, Dave Allen, Jack Catterall.
Not anymore.
Not anymore?
No, he's left.
This is news. How long ago did he leave?
A couple of months ago. He's with Jerome Ennis. Yeah. Training with his dad now.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Already getting me caught up on there. But the question I wanted to ask is, why ABC?
So originally I was training out of Oliver's gym, and obviously there's links there straight away with Jamie being trained by Oliver. But yeah, it was a bit more out of the way for me. Obviously being younger, I couldn't drive, couldn't get Ubers and stuff. So it was like an half an hour bike ride there and back. And then when you get in to like the winter and stuff, when it's cold, 13 years old, bit dangerous, especially in that area where it is. And I'd absolutely nothing against the gym. I still speak to people from there. It's an absolutely amazing gym. I just don't think it was my kind of place. And I was thinking about just not doing boxing at all, because I was playing rugby at the time as well. So and then I was speaking to a few of the lads in the gym, Lerone Harrison, and he was going on about Jamie's opening a gym, or he just opened the gym. Went down, and just from the get-go, I just felt at home there, and it was right up the road for me as well, so convenient.
Very convenient. One thing as well that I'm going to need to ask is, how did it come up about you, obviously, your first amateur bout?
Yeah.
I was unfortunately not there for that. I do apologise. But I did see on social media the support you had. How did that make you feel when you saw in your first fight as an amateur, let alone a professional, so many people come and support you?
Yeah, so it's a feeling like no other, and I know that's a really typical answer, but that's because it's what it is. Like you walk out and you just see, obviously I'm not fighting in like the Staples Centre or anything, but you're looking around, you're seeing everyone around you, everyone's shouting your name, everyone's cheering you on, you've got all the lights on you, and it's just a surreal feeling, do you know what I mean? Because it's one of them things, you see it on the TV, and even though it's nowhere near the scale of what you see on the TV, you can't believe it's happening to you. Do you know what I mean? It's an amazing feeling.
And one thing as well with that is, was there changing rooms there? At the event centre?
At the one I was at, yeah. For my first one, yeah.
Okay, so you're in the changing rooms.
Yeah.
Your song comes on. Was it Can't Stop? Oh.
Nah, the first song I ever walked out to was Go Your Own Way by Fleetwood Mac.
That's quite a banger of a song, I'm not gonna lie.
It's from my granddad.
But the feeling I want to capture is, as soon as you've left that changing room, you know it's you next. You hear the announcer say your name, and you're walking out. What was the feeling? Was it more fire. I'm ready to do this. I've worked hard for this, and this is my opportunity to grasp it and begin my career? Or was it something else?
Exactly that. So I feel like throughout your fights it changes at certain points, but for your first one, obviously I can only speak from my experience, but I just remember walking down the stairs, because where it was, we was at the top bit, we was in the Peaky Blinders pub, if anyone knows where that is, and I was in the top bit to warm up, and I was walking down the stairs, I was hearing my song, I just thought, I've done absolutely everything I can do in training. It's obviously it's your first one, and you just think, yes, like let's get it on, I'm ready for it.
So, moving on to more broad things in the gym. One thing that amateur boxing has sadly become notorious for, through the lower levels all up to the Olympics, is robberies. Conspiracy, corruption, robberies. For example, Roy Jones Jr., 1988 Olympics.
Horrible.
Have you experienced this yourself or seen others experience it? And how did that make you feel?
Both. I've seen others experience it, and obviously I've experienced it myself a couple of times. And the only way I can describe it is you just feel drained, because you know how it feels to win, you know how it feels to lose, and you're not in either of them feelings. You just sat there thinking, what on God's green earth have I done to deserve this? I've put in all this effort, I've trained for months, I've stayed away from all these parties, I've not spent time with my family, I've done this, that and the other. You know, you dedicate yourself to the gym, to not get the result that you want, that you worked that hard for, is horrible. And listen, if you lose, you lose. You've got to take that on the chin. And whenever I have lost, I've been the first to say. But getting robbed is not a nice feeling.
When you did get robbed, because you talked about your own experiences there, did that change how you were in the gym? You know, you obviously take, I don't know how long you take off, a week or 2 weeks, and you go back in. Are you that same fighter? Are you more cautious, or do you become almost more aggressive in your nature because you think, they didn't give it me, they didn't say I did enough, and next time I just need to just absolutely throw the kitchen sink at him?
It's a mix of emotions, you know. Like you have, but as soon as you get out, you want to go again, because you know that you should have won. You know that you can do better as well, because in some cases, most cases, for it to be a split most of the time, it's got to have been a close fight. So you know that you can do better, you want to get back in. But then sometimes you go home and you're thinking about it, and you just you're like, what am I even doing it for? Because I'm putting in all this work, I'm not getting the feeling that I want, and it knocks you. And it's happened to me, it's happened to other people. You're just in a place where you don't quite feel right, you can't sit with yourself. You go in and then you train hard, and you, like you say, you like, I'm having this next one, I'm gonna throw the kitchen sink at it, and you train hard and you train hard and you train hard, and you might be smashing sparring, yeah, you training dead hard, and then you might have one bad sparring session, and then it gets to your head, or you know, you're thinking about decisions, you're thinking about your wins, you're thinking about your losses, you're thinking about your robberies, and you know, it's scary because you just don't know what's going to come.
One thing I like that you touched on there was how it affects you, not just in the gym along with other fighters, your coaches, but the feeling of going home and experiencing the mental health issues where you're doubting yourself, stuff that, you know, if I do bad on a test in school, I'll obviously be upset about it, but I won't go home and feel disappointed in myself. I'll not doubt myself for how I can do it, something I'm clearly good at. So what I want to ask you is, when those experiences did happen, did it affect you outside the majority of the ring? Like, obviously we went to school together. Yeah. Did it affect you then?
Yeah, probably more than anything mentally. because you're confident in yourself, in your abilities, and you know what you're good at. You train 5 days a week, sometimes twice a day. Like there's no denying the commitment or the way you're training, because ultimately that's down to you, and as long as you know you're putting everything in, there shouldn't be any issue. But I've had some, as the highs are high and the lows are low, and they're as low as you can get. And after some of my decisions, I've had some bad mental health issues, because, like you say, the feeling that you want, you're not getting, and you question yourself. You're like, am I good enough? Do I need to drop down a level? Do I need to be doing more? I feel like I'm doing everything I can be doing, but I'm not getting what I want. Is it for me? Like you just question yourself so much, and sometimes it takes over, and it's horrible.
When it comes to that issue of doubt, do you believe there's a person around you who you feel it's your responsibility? For example, your coach, do you believe it's their responsibility to pick you up and maintain it? Because I know you're a good fighter. I've seen you fight. One of my favourite memories actually was when me and all the boys came and watched you fight Guerrilla Warfare. All of us were there, and you beat the opponent, you won, and it was such a good feeling. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Going back on the question, who do you believe's responsible for making sure you're okay?
Yourself. Like, it's a one-man sport. Obviously, you've got your coaches, you've got your people who you train in the gym with, but if you can't motivate yourself, why can anyone else motivate you? Do you know what I mean? It's the saying, if how can you love yourself? How can you love someone else if you can't love yourself? Do you know what I mean? It's so true. Like, obviously, you're going to have hard days where your coach has got to give you a kick up the arse. Come on. Sorry, can I swear?
Of course you can't go for it.
Right, sorry. You got to give you a kick up the arse. Come on. Get them sprints in. Come on, get on your run. Come on, step it up a bit in the sparring. Obviously, they're there to motivate you. But really and truly, it's yourself. There's no one who can do it other than you.
Yeah. So we'll move away from this now, but thank you very much for that, Ethan. That was a great insight into what, not just you, what many amateur boxers have gone through and how it affects them. What I'd like to touch on is the atmosphere at amateur fights. If you could sum it up in one word, what would you say?
Mental.
Mental. Why is it mental?
Because you've got hundreds of people either screaming for you to batter someone, or you've got hundreds of people screaming at you or hoping you get battered. So it's a really 50-50 thing, and when you've got it for you, it's amazing. You feel like you're on top of the world. Everyone there screaming your name, but then also on the other side of things, you've got everyone screaming at you, and you're like, oh, I want to prove all you. You want to silence the room. I remember I had a fight, took it on 2 days' notice. It was literally,
I remember this.
The day we left school,
Yeah.
and we got all our shirts signed. I went home that night and fought, and that I was obviously being a mank, fighting in Liverpool, and because it was on such short notice, I couldn't bring any support with me. I had my mum, my dad, my brother, and my auntie with me. That's all I had, against a room full of hundreds of people, and everyone's booing you when your name's getting announced, and you know you've got everyone screaming for the other person to win, and there's just, in that moment, it'll either make or break you, and in that fight it made me, and I just thought I want to silence this room, and my ass fell out a bit because he heard split decision, but thankfully I got the win. I got the win that day in a tough fight. It was only my third fight, and I boxed a lad who had 9 before. I think it was his 10th fight. So yeah, tough fight, but we got the job done.
Would you consider the crowds at the boxing gigs more of a positive environment to boxing or negative? Because something I always notice when I used to box and I used to go to the events and when I've been watching you, there is one thing that is always there, and I can't blame it, but alcohol.
Yeah.
A lot of people find amateur boxing shows where, until the last 3 fights, it's kids fighting.
Yeah.
And they're all getting absolutely washed. I just wanted to know your opinions on that.
I feel like if you're the fighter, that's down to you to channel it and to block it out, because don't get me wrong, when some people have had a drink, it is annoying. Do you know what I mean? And some people can become quite disrespectful. And the abuse that they shout is just not acceptable at all. Especially like you say when it's kids fighting. But then at the same time, I feel like that's down to whoever's there to control it. It's not really something that you can control, so it's just down to you as the fighter to channel it, to listen to the good, to listen to the bad, and just know that you've got a man in front of you and you're there to do a job. You're not there to listen to no one. You're not there to get into it with anyone. You're there to fight, and that's all really.
And coming up to the last thing I wanted to ask you about, obviously going away from the amateur scene really quickly, there's been a lot of focus on weight. And the reason I bring this up is because it's something that it's almost a given, a fighter making weight. You're shocked when a fighter doesn't make weight. Yeah. And we had Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. Seeing what Chris Eubank Jr. had to go through to make weight when he was only 0.5 away from making the weight, and he was in the sauna. He was working out, and he looked like he was going to die. Is that something that's true in amateur boxing as well? The struggle of cutting weight.
Yeah, definitely. I know people who have, like you say, you see the Chris Eubanks using sauna suits, being in the sauna. I know a lot of people use like laxatives and stuff like that. People go on water fasts days before fight, which is never good. I've done that before to make weight. When you see me on that last day of school, everyone's having ice cream, eating food and stuff, and I didn't eat. I didn't eat for the full day before because I was weighing around 66 and I was fighting at 63, and I made the weight. But it's unhealthy.
What I have to say is, like you've just described, water fasting, taking laxatives, this can't be good for a professional. I can understand, because this is their livelihood, this is how they earn money, provide. But for someone like yourself who's only young and is rising into the business, not in his prime or leaving, do you believe these health benefits, these health risks are detrimental to the youth of boxing? Will it set it back instead of growing it as it should as a sport?
Yeah, 100%. Because you see fighters who are fighting with head guards, 12-ounce gloves, and they're getting brain damage in the ring and serious health issues off having a fight. That's not down to sometimes it's down to where you've been at, but it's also down to how you're making weight. If you've not got the right fibres and nutrients in your body to be fighting, then you shouldn't be fighting. And some people have to take them risks. It's either fight or don't. And for a lot of people, that's what their life is. It's what they love. So if you turn around to a lot of people and go, would you rather not eat for 2 days or minimally eat for 2 days and fight or not fight? People are going to take that risk, but it's more than just a fight, what they're having. It's more than a fight in a ring. it's a fight outside. You're playing with your health, and like I say, I've done it. Stupid mistake, and I know people who have done it, but it's what you've got to do as a fighter sometimes. But with that said, as an amateur, I feel like you should choose your weight better if that's the case, because obviously professionals have months to get it, or weeks of preparation to get it down. But then as an amateur, I've had a fight on 5 hours notice before. Do you know what I mean? So you're playing with it really.
Well, what I will say is thank you, Ethan. You've been an absolute pleasure today. You give such a good insight into how the amateur boxing scene works, not just the boxing scene. The young people who are growing the sport that we all know and love.
Yeah.
And to you watching at home, I know the setup's not the greatest. I tried to get that painting removed and then put this nice little glove behind it. Didn't work. So hopefully in the near future, we will have better setup. And hopefully you'll keep watching. Have a good one.